Yeah, so he came here to learn to be a shoemaker.
여기 와서 이제 구두 수선공 공부하려고 칼로 온 거예요.
And his fellow apprentice, you understand apprentice?
Yeah.
His fellow apprentice was a Christian, born again.
자기 친구가 이제 예수 믿는 사람이어가지고 거듭난 사람이라.
So they had lots of discussions and arguments,
그래서
which William Carey always won, but came away thinking, but I've got it wrong.
윌리엄 캐리 예수 믿지 않아가지고 친구하고 이렇게 대화 나눌 때 자기가 이긴 것 같았는데 나중에 집에 와서 내가 틀린 것 같다라는 생각이 들었대요.
So eventually he became a Christian.
그리고 나중에 이제 예수 믿게 됐어요. How old he was?
About 17, 18, something like that.
17, 18살 된 것 같다고.
And he decided to leave the Church of England and become a non-conformist, a Baptist.
그래서 성공회를 떠나서 침례교회에 오게 됐어요.
And he was one of the people who founded this church.
근데 여기 교회 개척 멤버 정도 될 정도로 시작합니다. How old is this church?
The building itself or the church?
Both church.
Well, the church is 1780 something.
다 있어요.
Yeah.
1780 몇 년대에 이 교회가 시작됐대요.
And this part of the building probably is that old.
이것이 올해 오리지널 건물이고.
Yeah. But that part of the building, I'm sorry, that part of the building was built in 1880.
저 옆에 있는 건물은 1880년에 그의 건물이 건축되고 왼쪽에.
Yeah. So he preached his first sermons here. He got married here.
여기에서 처음으로 설교자가 됐고 여기서도 결혼식을 했고.
In the village in Piddington, he got married in Piddington, not in this building.
여기 패딩턴 지역에서 결혼식했대요.
And he started a family here. And then he taught himself Greek and Hebrew.
혼자서 히브리하고 그리스어를 그리고 공부한 거예요.
And there was a minister in Olney who used to travel to Northampton once a month and come and encourage him in his lessons.
어떤 설교자가 한 달에 한 번씩 와가지고 윌리엄 케리한테 아주 도전을 주고 그랬대요.
And then he used to walk to other villages, miles away, in order to preach on a Sunday and encourage people.
주일날 다른 지역에 가서도 또 설교하고 그랬어요, 윌리엄 케리가.
And eventually he went to Malton. He was called there to be a teacher, but he also took on pastoring the church as well.
몰턴 그 교회 거기에서 설교도 했고 그 다음에 거기서 가르치기도 하고.
So hopefully you can get there this afternoon.
예. 오늘 오후에 거기도 갈 겁니다. And then how long he has been ministering in this church?
Probably, I would think he was here probably only for about 5 years.
한 5년 정도 여기서 목회를 갔다 그래요.
Yeah.
And then he has got 4 children, yeah?
Yes.
And then and his wife name is Dorothy.
Yeah. So one of their daughters died whilst they were here. St. Alexander. It died in Hackleton. She's buried in Piddington Cemetery.
이 근처에서 자기 딸이 하나 죽었다고요.
So his whole family is another matter entirely. Yes. And all the things that he went on to do. Do you want me to talk about those things as well? Yeah. Okay. So one of the things that when he went to India, he wasn't allowed to land by the East India Company, which is the British company.
그 한국의 동인도 회사라고 들어봤죠? 동인도 회사가 영국 회사인데 바로 설교를 못하니까 동인도 회사를 통해서 인도에 가게 됐어요.
But the Dutch East India Company welcomed him. So this is my husband, David.
Oh, nice to meet you. That's
I'm the evangelist.
They are from New Jersey. They are evangelists to come here to preach the gospel. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So on the journey out to India, the ship was blown off course, and so there were other people on board ship who were Dutch, and so he learnt Dutch when he was travelling over there.
그 배 타고 갈 때 5개월 정도 타고 간다 그랬잖아요. 그때 독일 사람도 있어서 독일어를 또 공부도 하고 그렇게 됐어요.
So further on in William Carey's life, it really, when he was in India, the Dutch actually asked him to come and train the people who'd just gone out there in the ways of the culture and the language, which by then Carey was able to do. So whilst the British were holding him all at arm's length, the Dutch were going, no, please come and help us.
그래서 동인도 회사를 통해 갔지만도 그 인도의 문화나 관습 같은 거 배워야 된다고 그렇게 도움을 받은 독일 사람들한테 그래서 훈련을 받은 거예요.
And he and the other people who went with him, eventually they set up schools for both the boys and the girls, both for local children, and they taught both the boys and the girls.
그래서 학교를 시작해요. 남자 학교, 여자 학교를 의료 애들 위해서.
He started learning the language, and the first thing he did was to translate or write down rather Indian stories, folk stories and things like that, and also their religious stories. So he was writing all those things down before he ever started translating the Bible.
자기가 성경 번역하기 전에 이제 동화집 같은 게 있잖아요. 그런 동화집 같은 걸 번역을 하고 그렇게 하게 되고 그래요.
And because he was doing that, the people in the UK got really fed up and said they weren't going to support him if he didn't start translating the Bible.
이 본부에서는 싫은 거예요. 빨리 성경 번역을 해야지 왜 내 그렇게 동화집이나 그런 걸 하고 있어. 그래서 별로 본부하고 이제 그 마음이 하나가 되지 않는 그런 일이 있었어요.
But his argument was, I need to really know the language well before I tackle the Bible.
그러니까 윌리엄 캐리가 주장한 것은 이들 문화나 이걸 정말로 언어를 잘 해야지만 성경 번역을 할 수 있지 않겠냐고 그렇게 이야기하는 거예요. I agree with William Carey. I'm a missionary in here, in UK.
Yes.
I need to know the English first. Yeah.
So yes,
Before anything.
Yes. And he needed to understand their culture and all those things before he could translate the Bible.
그래서 그 인도어로 번역하기 전에 그 나라 문화를 알고 언어를 정말 알고 싶어서 거기에 집중했어요.
It's like so I know that there was some translators who were translating the Bible for Central African countries, and they said there's no point in writing he washes our sins as white as snow because they don't know what snow is. So they say washing it as white as the inside of a coconut or as coconut milk. And
그러니까 예를 들어서 그 센트럴 아프리카 있죠. 중앙 아프리카 같은 경우는 아프리카는 눈이 없잖아요. 눈 성경 번역하려면은 우리의 붉은 죄악이 눈보다 더 하얗게 깨끗해진다. 눈을 본 적이 없어요. 근데 그때 당시 그런 번역하려면은 코코넛 가루보다 더 하얗게 우리가 죄를 씻어준다. 코코넛 밀크처럼. 그러니까 그런 식으로 그 알아야 되기 때문에 그 문자대로 번역하는 게 쉽지 않다는 거지. 그래서 그 이야기 하는 거예요.
So he started translating the Bible, but it was 7 years before anybody became a Christian.
그래서 7년이 걸렸습니다. 그 하는데.
Yeah, his wife had a mental breakdown, and yes, and she was locked away. Yes.
그 부인이 우울증 걸리고 이제 정신 이상 현상까지 생겨서 거기서 죽게 됩니다.
Yeah, and other people wanted him to get her locked away, but he would never do that because she didn't really want to go, and he felt really responsible for her, and he loved her, and he really respected her.
근데 다른 사람들은 이제 정신병원에 내야 된다 그러는데 자기는 윌리엄 그러지 않아야 된다고 그렇게 이야기하고 정말 부인을 사랑했고요. 그런 사람이었습니다.
And she tried to kill him a couple of times.
자살을 몇 번 시도했어요, 부인이요.
Yeah, so it was really hard for them.
She doesn't want to go to India from the beginning, actually. That is why.
Yeah.
처음부터 인도 안 가고 싶었어요, 부인이.
And it must have been really tough for her. I mean, absolutely no concept of what this country was going to be like, and nobody else speaking English, and all the food's different, and you know how it is.
언어 다르지, 음식 다르지, 영국 사람이 그곳에 가는 게 쉽지 않아서 even the the caste system in India is very, very hard
Yes.
to change. Yeah.
Yes. One of the things that I do tell people, because I think it's really important, is that William Carey was writing to William Wilberforce in the UK, encouraging him to stop slavery, and he kept writing, saying, "Don't give up, don't give up." But whilst they were trying to stop slavery here, he was also trying to stop the practice of sati in India. And sati is the practice of, if a man died, his wife
together.
walked onto the funeral pyre and was burnt alive.
예, 인도에 그때 카스트 계 중에서 사티라고 해가지고 남편이 죽으면 부인을 죽은 그 장례식장에 부인 태워주고 불러 같이 죽는 거예요. 그걸 없애라고 그리고 그때 당시 영국의 정치인인데 윌리엄 윌버포스라고 있어요. 윌리엄 윌버포스 이 사람 정치인인데 제발 슬레이브 트레이드 이 노예 제도를 없애달라고 편지를 쓰고 그래요. 그래서 그러니까 존 뉴턴도 슬레이브 트레이드의 존 뉴턴 어메이징 그레이스 그 사람 있죠. 그 사람이 성공의 목사가 되거든요. 그래서 it's amazing God used William Wilberforce and John Newton and then even William Carey, all these people to stop the slave trade.
Yes. And so, William Wilberforce heard on his deathbed that slavery had stopped, and William Carey was also on his deathbed when he heard that sati had stopped, that they passed a law banning it.
예, 자기들 다 죽고 나서 다 이게 인도에서도 그 사티 그 제도가 없어졌고요. 그 윌리엄 윌버포스 있죠, 그 사람도 맞죠. Both of them William.
Yes. Oh, it's like the name Matthew now.
같이 윌리엄이네 둘 다. 윌리엄 윌버포스, 윌리엄 캐리.
Yeah, lots of Williams. Yeah. Yes. So I don't know. Would you like to see the pulpit?
Yes, please. Yeah.
And
thank you.
If you'd like to get a cake or have a coffee, then that would be great.
That,
we can do that.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
yeah.
Can I go there?
Yes.
To